All right, shalom.
Shalom.
Now, all of you who are in this room from the rainy state of Oregon, nobody heard you outside this wall, so we got folk all around the world that want to know you in the room. Come on, y'all say shalom.
Shalom.
All right, how about Shabbat Shalom?
Shabbat Shalom.
I'm excited. This is really like my first time in Oregon. I told people this, that I've been an Oregon Duck fan since the Kelly years. Now, after he left, I don't really know what happened, but I came up here and I saw all these people wearing duck gear. I was like, oh, so I guess, they ain't lost their spirit. All right, so we in duck country, and but also we all around the world right now to the 12 tribes of Israel worldwide. Just want to say once again, shalom. And we had a wonderful discussion today going through some Hebrew history. We actually walked through the Bible and saw some of the prophecies that were fulfilled concerning our people, and we had a chance to look at the alphabet and see some of the spiritual meaning behind the wonderful alphabet that was given to us, our Hebrew language, by our Heavenly Father. So we had a good time, and now I want to share a message. Of course, I want to ask everyone to continue to pray for my family. Of course, I'm running solo. Continue to pray for the wife and the children. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
And continue to pray for the ark in my absence. I miss them, but I miss my family more. But it's been good to be here. Hallelujah. It's good to be able to go live. Hallelujah. Yeah, that's really cool. Also, I want to mention, because I may forget, that if you do want to continue to support the ark, because you know that we're taking this message all over, that you can give to the ark, and if you're online and you want to do it, you just got to go to our website, which is Awakening Remnant, and hit donate. And the Most High will bless you for your efforts. We believe it's important to get this message out. And that's why I'm in Oregon right now. I believe that we're supposed to see each other. It's just not enough to be on one side of the camera. Because the kind of fellowship we had today, you can't get that. You can't get that with a camera. Amen.
Amen.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
I was looking at a text, and it's extremely important text, but maybe not that popular. But I couldn't, when I read over it, it just jumped out of the page, and I thought I would share it on this Shabbat. It's a special message because this is the first time that I've actually shared this particular message, and I thought it'd be great to share it here in Oregon. All right. Go to the book of Luke. The book of Luke, interesting passage here. And verse 19. 21, Luke 21, 19. For all of you that are watching worldwide, also want you, grab your Bible. Whenever you come to worship or to study, you should never close your Bible. I remember growing up in church, I used to hear people say, now, just gonna read this verse and y'all can close your Bibles. No, you don't close your Bible. You open the Bible. Keep it open. And if you have a smartphone or a tablet or a computer, this is a time to open it so that you can go along and fact check in these last days, Zion. We cannot afford to take the preacher's word for it. Preachers lie a lot. Some of them do it on purpose, some of them just don't know, but nevertheless, our people right now are in trouble because of misinformation that has gone out primarily over pulpits and through commentaries and things like that. And so we encourage you, Zion, to study for yourself. And don't take my word for it. Look it up. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Luke chapter 21, verse 19. This is what it said. And in your patience, do y'all see that? Possess ye your soul. Read that with me, say it. And in your patience, possess ye your soul. One more time. And in
your patience,
possess ye
your soul.
Incredible. It said, the Messiah said, in your patience, possess ye your soul. And that's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about possessing your soul. Because that's what we were told to do by our King. He said, in your patience, possess your soul. And I'm going to be honest. When I read this for the first time, I didn't know what he was talking about. And I don't feel bad because I know 99% of y'all watching me worldwide or in this room, you don't know what he's talking about.
Right.
But we're going to discover what our master meant when he said, in your patience, possess your soul. I was looking at this word, patience. I found out something. Sister Brenda, I found out that most people hate this word.
All right.
Patient?
All right.
No, we live in a time where nobody wants to be patient. We don't want to hear about patience, and we don't want to be subject to the idea of being patient. When I was young, my grandmother used to always say to me, she would say, because I have a nickname with Marvy, she said, Marvy, I said, yes. She said, be patient. She said, you need the patience of Job. She said, because patience is a virtue. Come to find out that when she said, I need the patience of Job, what she was asking me was, have you ever read the book of Job?
All right.
And I was like, I ain't got time. The idea of being patient, even enough to sit down and read all them chapters. How would a person be learn patience if they're not patient enough to discipline themselves, to actually endure some things. And I was looking at this word where he says, in your patience, patience is a virtue. The word virtue in English really stems from the idea of power. So you might want to write that down. The idea is power. So when people say virtue, or they say patience is a virtue, there is something tied into patience that then gives you a particular amount of power. Now, the English definition of patience, let me get it to you. First of all, patience is the capacity to accept or tolerate delay. Once again, straight out of the English dictionary, patience is the capacity to accept or tolerate delay. Number two, patience in English is suffering, or the ability to suffer without getting angry or upset. That's English. English says that patience is the capacity to accept or tolerate delay. It says that patience is suffering without getting angry or upset. So we have several words in the English language, I want to give them to you, that people use for suffering. One is forbearance, restraint, calmness, composure, that's one, understanding, perseverance, persistence, endurance, and resolve. Those are all synonyms. Those are some of the words that you can use to help understand the English concept of patience. So, in English, patience has everything to do with restraint, composure, understanding, perseverance, persistence, endurance, and resolve. The Greek word for patience is hupomone. And that word brings you another idea of patience. The idea in Greek is a man who is not swerved from his deliberate purpose. Do you get it? Patience in Greek is a man who is not swerved from his deliberate purpose and his loyalty to faith and piety. This is a long one. Even by the greatest trials and suffering. This is what he says in Greek. This is what Greek mind says. Patience is a man who will never be swayed to get off his purpose, even in the midst of trials and suffering. He said that person is patient. But Hebrew gives us a nuance to this word suffering that you're not going to get in English or Greek. While English and Greek both relate to this word patience, which is in Hebrew, which I'm going to give you in Hebrew, there is something about the Hebrew that's going to give you just a little more insight to what the Messiah said when he said, in your patience. I was like, all right, what is it? The word mikveh or mikveh has a root. And the root is kuf hey. Kuf in Hebrew is the sun on the horizon, which we studied this earlier today, that the sun on the horizon represented that in the Hebrew mind, which is behind. Correct? It also represented the sunset. Now, the sunset to the Hebrew was when the light of the day was gathering to them, that's what it looked like, together into one place. So in the day it looked like the light was like everywhere. But as we get toward the horizon and the sun going down in the horizon, it looked as though the light began to gather closer and closer and closer until finally, once it goes under the horizon, it goes out. So there's an idea with the kuf here of gathering. You see it? You can see it. Then you have the hay, which is a man beholding that or seeing that light being gathered into like one place. So the word kuf hay together represented the idea to collect. To collect, C-O-L-L-E-C-T, to collect. Because it looks like when the sun goes down on the horizon, it's collecting all the light into one place. When you put these words together, then the Hebrew mind can actually then apply the action to other things. Remember, Hebrew is an action-based language. So the idea of collecting something together in Hebrew then could also apply to, say, like a rope that is then wrapped around something for the purpose of then like pulling like the one end of it, and the hole and the hoop gets smaller and smaller, so like you can wrap it together or you can like bind it. So if you've got, things that are all scattered around and you want to put them in a bundle, you tie a rope around the whole thing and you bundle it together, then you can tighten it down. So you see the same picture to take that which is like spread out and then with a rope bring it together, which represents collection. So you can see the action of collecting everything again into a place. Now, when you add the mem, M-E-M, for those of you who know the mem is a letter of the Hebrew alphabet, the mem represents motion or water or the motion of water. And so when you put the word, the M or the mem, I should say, the mem on this particular word, what you're now going to get then is the collecting of water. Do you see it? That water's moving, but as you see water like come into like a pond, or a better word would be like a watering hole. You see that the water that's been spread all over the valley or all over the desert or all over the mountains then collects itself into a hole, a watering hole for like herds of animals that will come by in due season so that they can now drink from the water. But once the rain stops and summer comes and the flow of the river stops, then that collection of water that was wide seems to get smaller and smaller and smaller. And so in their mind, in the Hebrew way of thinking, our ancestors looked at that because, and what they saw was a collecting of the waters. You see it, how it seemed like it would be, and if you ever looked at, well, y'all in Oregon, y'all got water everywhere, so you may not have ever seen this, but coming from the valley, water holes dry up all the time in the field. And what you see when you go watch them, even our lakes, what you see is it leaves rings. As it goes down, there's like little rings. It goes down a little bit lower, and you get another ring, and you go lower, 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 until when you go see it, you see all these rings that are like wrapped around the water. So again, in the Hebrew mind, those rings that are wrapped around the water, that's gathering into one place, it's concentrating. They looked at that and said, okay, I see the motion of a gathering here. Now, didn't I tell you that the water came down primarily to these watering holes for the purpose of giving water to cattle, or a better term would be to herds. And so it's very interesting that if you were in a herd, whether it's wildebeest or horses or whatever, what you have to learn to do is trust the process of the four seasons, the rain, the snow, the streams, that your water hole is going to fill up. And that you're going to be able to then, watch this term, gather around the water hole to drink.
All right.
Now, as a herd, you ain't the only animal thirsty.
Okay. Oh,
So
hello.
everything comes to the water hole. Y'all got it? So you have herds of animals that are herbivores, but you also get animals around the water hole that are omnivores.
Right.
In other words, you got prey and predator.
Right.
Yeah.
As the water gets smaller, the territory
Get small.
starts shrinking. Y'all already know where I'm going with this. And as the water is collected and it gets smaller, tempers flare. Panic sets in. See, Yah has a cycle where he'll bring the water, bring the snow. It sits on the mountains. Y'all know how it works. In the wintertime, flows down the rivers, the babbling brooks, the meandering streams. It settles in the water hole. But when summer comes, you all know what happens. The water starts to shrink. The sun evaporates and the earth absorbs the water.
Right.
Watch this. And it looks like this cord is wrapped around the palm. And it keeps getting tighter and tighter and tighter. So the place that the animals thought was the most wonderful and beautiful place to be the water hole, when it starts shrinking, y'all in the room with me, right? It becomes a scary place.
Right.
Territory wars break out, predators come. It's scary. Water is depleting, temperature is rising, predators everywhere, and yet the animals in the herd have to do their best, listen to me, to keep it together. You know what I mean by that? They can't go crazy. They can't freak out. See, the protection of the herd is the herd. Did you catch that? And I told you at this watering hole, there's everything. There's lions. There's bears. There's wolves. There's foxes. There's leopards. And then there's a few cows. And here is the patience of the shrinking water hole. Keep it together. Don't fall apart. Why? Because if you panic as a member of the herd and take off running all by yourself, one, you're going to die anyway because you left your water hole. But two, you are now more vulnerable to attacks from, and so here is the patience. Here is the patience. Are you willing, or can you keep it together? Because the truth is, that's what the Messiah is saying to his disciples. He's saying, you better keep it together. Say, huh? Yeah, in your patience. Well, why are you telling me I gotta keep it together? He says, some stuff is getting ready to happen. It's coming down the pipe. Let's go back to that Luke chapter 5 and see why we are being told, oh, thank you. Let's see why we've been told to keep it together. Luke 21, verse 5. Luke 21, verse 5. And as he spake of the temple, and as some spake of the temple, how it was, y'all wrote me, how it was what?
Adorned
with
goodly stones.
Goodly stones and gifts, is what he said. As for these things, in other words, they was in there going, ooh, look at this building. Look at the gold and the silver and the diamonds and the precious jewels and gems. And while they were saying that, he said, as for these things which you behold, the days will come in the which there shall not be one stone left upon another that shall not be thrown down. You know, when he said that, those disciples freaked out a little. So basically what he was saying is, look, man, all this temple that you see, it's crashing. It's going to be destroyed and every stone will be thrown down. Slight panic had to hit the hearts of the disciples because the temple was their place of worship. But I can hear him saying, but y'all got to keep it together. When the temple is gone, you got to keep it together. And they asked him, saying, verse 7, Master, but when shall these things be? And what sign will there be when these things come to pass? And he said, take heed that you be not deceived. Okay, they asked a question about when, and he started talking about deception. He was like, deception is coming.
Right.
what's going to happen? Many will come in my name saying, I'm Christ. And the time draweth near. Go ye not therefore after them. He said, man, let me tell you something. Let me tell y'all something. You're about to come into a time when there's going to be a false Christ popping up every day. Oh man, every day some new person talking about he's the Messiah. But you, Zion, you got to keep it together. Don't be running out there talking about I'm following him. He said, because that ain't going to be me. So the idea is with the rise of all these false teachers and false doctrine, you have to keep it together. Y'all get it? Mm-hmm. Let's see what else he says. Verse 9. In verse 9 he says, but when you shall hear of wars and commotions, be not terrified, for these things must first come to pass, but the end is not by and by. He said, man, y'all gonna hear wars on every hand. I can see them right now. Oh, boy, we in trouble. But the master said what? Keep it together. Don't let it shake you. Be strong. Watch this. He says, wars here, they're going to be everywhere. Now watch this. From the time of Yeshua here until today, there have been thousands of wars. And it has not just been centrally located in the Middle East, what we call today the Middle East. We have been involved in what's called world wars. We had a World War I, a World War II, and right now we're on the verge of a World War III. And right now, Hebrew Israelites are panicking, freaking out, going on YouTube trying to figure out what's going on, calling each other up, talking about, man, we got to go do something. And I can hear the master saying the same thing over and over. Hebrew, keep it together. I think y'all got the point. See what he said? Right here in the Bible, I don't have to make it up. He said, nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, civil wars, national wars. In this country where we've been held captive, right now we're dealing with what's called race wars. But I can hear the master saying, these things got to happen. But for you, just keep it together. I know people turning on each other. I know the water hole in us, y'all get the point, it's become a dangerous place. And I know it seems like with the sun evaporating the water, the earth absorbing the water, and the predators surrounding the water, it looks like the water may disappear and never come back. That's the problem with a lot of people who claim to be following Yah. They cannot trust the process. As soon as they hear of trouble or distress, as soon as they get talked about a little bit, as soon as they find out that somebody woke up to the truth and got fired, I'm trying to tell you, when they find out that there's wars being fought, rumors of war, when they find out that they're putting, and this is incredible, that it's actually a law now that you as a Hebrew cannot be too pro-black. They call it hyper identity. It's a hyper identity law that if you get too black, you in trouble.
All right. All right.
If you dig too deep in who you are and start talking about who you are, you will be placed on this country's hate list. Hate watch.
Right.
Therefore, Zion, what I'm trying to help the children of Israel worldwide today is when you hear of all this stuff, you got to keep it together. Let's see what else he said. And I'm about to, believe it or not, I'm going to cut this thing short. Watch what he says. And great earthquakes shall be in divers places, and famine, and pestilence, and fearful sights, and signs, and great signs shall be from heaven. Do y'all know that we just saw a total solar eclipse? And the internet caught on fire. It's over. It's over. That's the sign, boy. That's it. That's it. I can hear the master saying, Hebrew,
Keep it together.
keep it together. Have we been listening on the news to these earthquakes that are hidden in diverse places? I decided to do just a quick Google search of like the most dangerous earthquake, say in the last 20, 30 years, and it tripped me out. I'm gonna read a few if you guys got time. Y'all got time? August 20, 1988 in Nepal, a 6.8, 721 people died in Nepal and 277 people died right outside the city. July 16, 1990, a 7.7 hit the Philippines. 1,621 people died, one earthquake. October 19, 1991, in India, a 6.6 earthquake hit, 768 people dead. 2 years later, September 29, 1993, in India, a 6.3 hit and 7,601 people died. In 1995, January 16th, in Japan, a 6.9 hit and 5,530 people were dead. July 17th, 1998, a 7.1 hit Papua New Guinea, 2,200 people dead. August 17th, 1999, in Turkey, a 7.6 earthquake hit, 17,000 people dead, 500,000 homeless.
Wow.
September 2nd, 1999, in Taiwan, a 7.7, 297 people dead, 100,000 people displaced. January 26, 2001, 7.7 hit India, killing 25,000 people and leaving 166,000 people homeless, and we're not even talking about those injured. In March 25th, 2002, a 6.1 hit Afghanistan, 1,000 dead. December 26, 2003, 6.7 hit Iran, 31,000 dead. December 26, 2004, in Indonesia, 220,000 people dead.
What year was it?
2004. 168,000 displaced. In October 2005 in Pakistan, a 7.6 hit and 75,000 people died. May 26, 2006 in Indonesia, earthquake hit, killed 6,000. I'm just going to skip because there's too many. I'm going to come up to 2015. April 2015 in Nepal, an 8.2 hit, 9,000 people died. And of course, recently, September 7th, 2017 in Mexico, a 8.1. It was the most powerful earthquake to ever hit Mexico in Mexico's recorded history. And of course, just last week, January 23rd in Kodak, Alaska, there was a 7.9.
Off the coast. Okay.
He said, as we get to the end and the water hole starts to shrink and evil men increase, I'm going to get to that. I'm just going to cut this one short. Watch this. Because he's going to talk about that too. He's going to talk about men becoming more evil.
Right, right.
He's going to talk about them laying hands on you. He's going to talk about them taking you to court and to prison and beating some and killing some. And the whole time he's talking about that, he's telling you, though, keep it together. Now, Yeshua, I hear you. I hear your words. I see what you mean when you say keep it together, stay collected, but you mentioned some heavy stuff. I mean, no temple. Temple destroyed.
Right.
False prophets everywhere. Wars everywhere. Commotions everywhere. Civil wars, civil unrest, national wars, national threats. And you keep telling me, just keep it together, Hebrew. Then you tell me it's earthquakes coming, and we just read that not only are they coming more frequent, but they're becoming more intense. The intensity and the death toll is now higher than it's ever been, and you're telling me, but be cool, keep it together, don't fall apart. Then you told me that my foes would be in my own house, that my kinfolk would turn their back on me and people would lay hands on us and we'd be thrown in jail and in prison and persecuted. And then you said, but keep it together. You're asking us to do a lot, because any one of these will cause panic on those who don't know no better. Look what it says. They're going to actually, in verse 12, persecute you, deliver you up to the synagogue and to prison, being brought before kings and rulers for my name's sake, and it shall turn to you, watch this, for a testimony. I want to give you that word, for a testimony. It's ayin dalet. An eye is to see or to experience, a dalet is a door. And the idea of the ayin dalet is to see the door. And of course, to the Hebrew, who goes in and out of his door all the time, it means to see something repeatedly or to know it well. And so everybody knows their own front door. And he says a testimony is like that. To the Hebrew mind, a testimony is something that you will see over and over and over. See, Zion, it's one thing to have to go through something one time and then testify. But it's quite another thing if you have to keep going through something over and over and over. He says all this stuff is going to create in you a testimony, because it will be the same thing over and over and over and over. In other words, I don't have the news you want me to have, because I know what you want me to say is it's only going to happen once and then it's over. Nope. That's not what gives you a testimony. What gives you a testimony is when you've been through it so many times, you say, you know what? I've been here before. Y'all got your lights cut off one time. Talking about now you got a testimony. That ain't no testimony. Try 20 times. The first time they got cut off, you didn't have no testimony. First time they got cut off, you panicked. What we gonna do? What we gonna eat? But after that 20th time, you be like, get the candles, right? Open some soup. Come on, man. It doesn't become a testimony until you can honestly keep it together. Until you can actually, good to see y'all. Until you can actually endure all of this trouble over and over again until when you see it coming, watch this, you no longer push the panic button. You just don't. You hear the wars and the rumors of war, you're like, okay, they've been fighting. And you see people getting in trouble for the name's sake, and you see, watch this, even those who are walking as Hebrews getting picked off by the powers that be, even knowing that you could be next. You don't have a testimony until you can say, I've been here before, and I'm going to keep it together. People close to you might die. People that you were trusting and that you were following might end up in prison. But you have to keep it together. This is what he's saying. Don't run off. Don't destroy your witness and your testimony. Don't be like, man, I'm going back to the pagan religions and worship that I was in because it looks like that they're better off than we are.
Yeah.
He said, don't do that. This is my ending. You guys have been kind. Watch what he says. Settle therefore in your hearts not to meditate before what you shall answer. For I will give you a mouth and wisdom, which all of your adversaries shall not be able to gainsay or resist. He's saying during those times, because you kept it together, I'm going to be able to work with your mind and give you the right words to say so that your enemies won't be able to catch you up and make fun of you for your reaction during the trouble.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Watch this. Verse 16. And you shall be betrayed by both. Betrayed both by parents. Wait, you mean mama and daddy? Oh yeah. Brothers and kinfolk and friends, and some of you they cause to be shall they cause to be put to death. Wait a minute. I didn't know that this was going to cause our death. Oh yeah, you're going to see it. But you got to keep it together. And you shall be hated of all men for my name's sake. But there shall not be an hair of your head perish. Huh? He said, yeah, all this is going to happen, but you won't perish. I mean, you just told me going to be wars, earthquakes, famine, pestilence, kinfolk turning back on me, prison, beating, death. He's like, yeah, but that's all temporary on this side. It's not eternal. See, what he's trying to get us to see is the true you will not perish if you keep it together. But if you lose it, you're going to be in trouble. Watch this. He's writing the text. Watch this. In your patience, in your keeping it together, he says, possess ye your soul. That word possess there is an interesting word in Hebrew. It's the word ba'al. And the word means ruler or lord. And it actually comes from another word that means a wife. And so therefore, when you put it together, you got a ruler or a master. And so the Messiah is saying, he's saying, during these difficult times, Zion, you got to keep it together and master your soul. The Hebrew word there is nephesh. He says, you have to master you. Huh?
Cool.
Yeah, you cannot allow systems or people or earthquakes or famine or any other opposition that's coming upon the children of Israel to master you. You must continue to master your soul.
Ooh.
The word nefesh has to do with your whole life. When we became Hebrew, or when we realized that we were the bloodline descendants of the Most High, we realized something that went along with that. We cannot walk to the beat of the drummers of this world. We know that we're separated by this book. The battle is not, listen to me, the battle that everybody thinks is not the real battle. Most people think that the battle is between you and the devil. But you're giving the devil too much credit. The devil been defeated since Calvary, since Golgotha. When the Most High only begotten Son was crucified on that tree, he stomped the devil's head, who is now a defeated foe. This is what the Messiah is saying. It ain't about the devil now, it's about you. The greatest enemy to you, Zion, today is you. Can I say this and then let y'all go?
Yeah.
Hebrews out of control. And they brag on it. Man, I just lost it. I know, man, I was trying to walk this walk, but I lost it. You know what, man, I was trying to be cool, but then, so-and-so said something to me, man, I lost it. And the whole time, the master said, but I told you to keep it together. And I was trying to be strong with the dialogue, but man, the devil didn't do that. You did that, Hebrew. You the one panicking. You the one smoking your brains out. You the one drinking your liver out, trying to deal with what's going on in this crazy world. When the Messiah said, no, all you got to do is master your life. One writer said this. He said, when I became born again, really seriously born again, I realized something. I realized that I was being controlled by my moods. Instead of me controlling my moods were controlling me. You ever hear somebody say, I'm just a moody person? There's no room for that as a Hebrew. And let me tell y'all something. You don't pray about moods. You don't pray about that. That's not an issue of prayer. That's an issue of resolve. You have to say, I am going to master my life. I'm going to make sure that my life follows Torah. I'm going to make sure that my life walks on this narrow path, no matter if all hell is breaking out around me. I don't care if it's a war and a rumor of war going on in my street. I'm still going to walk Torah.
Hallelujah.
I don't care if mama, daddy, sister, brother, kinfolk. I don't care if I end up being rich or poor or in or out. None of that matters. I'm mastering my nefesh. Because if you keep reading, he's going to say, because it is him that endures to the end.
Right.
Right.
That's the one that's going to be saved. Not the one that falls apart, but the one, watch this, who can keep it together. Now, do you think he's just talking? Or do you think he actually, as our king, had to himself
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
keep it together?
Keep it together. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know the pressures that he was under to lose it?
Yeah.
Man, if that would have been us and Judas
Mm-hmm.
would have sold us out
Yeah. Right.
for 20 pieces of silver, 30 pieces of silver, and then got nerve to come to the prayer meeting and kiss us and give us all, we'd have lost it. just like Kiefer lost it. Remember in the garden, he went to war. He like, dude, hey, man, didn't I tell you? Keep it together. When he went to court that night, and night court is illegal based on the Hebrew, and he went to court that night, and they kept bringing false witnesses that couldn't get their lines together. And then the high priest still said, we don't need to hear no more. He could have lost it.
Yeah. Yeah.
He could have whooped Annas, Caiaphas, the soldiers, to everybody.
Yeah.
But he had to, what? Keep it together.
Yeah.
Then they turned him over to Pilate, and Pilate had nerve to look at our king and tell him, don't you know I got power? Ooh, Pilate almost made him lose it. He pushed him. He was like, you don't got no power over me except what my Father has given you. Then Pilate gonna say, you ain't gonna talk to me? Are you a king? Whoa. I'm telling you, if that had been us, we'd have lost it. But not him. Y'all know what happened, right? The record is, he said, my kingdom is not of this world. Because if it was, at this point, you talking to me like this, my men would have lost it. And would have killed everything. How about this? Went to Herod, and Herod mocked him with a fake robe and a crown of thorns and beat him with a rod and told him to do some trick. If that had been us. Now y'all starting to see why I give my king all honor, all praise, and all glory. And he kept it together. Matter of fact, he didn't say a word. And ultimately, after being found innocent, they still crucified him, which was against the law. But he kept it together on the cross beam, hanging on the tree. He could have fell apart. And they kept telling him, if you, come on down. But no, I'm in the control. He kept it together so much so that a thief that was nailed to the right side of the king asked him to remember him when he got to the kingdom. And the Messiah was so together, he said, this day you'll be with me in paradise. He kept it together. He gave up the ghost, but he was still together. They put him in a tomb, and y'all already know what happened. 3 days, he got up, all power, heaven, earth in his hands. And he then tells his disciples to now you go just like I went. And remember this, keep it together. Why? Because it's going to be some time, Zion, you're going to want to fall apart. you're going to want to go crazy. I heard somebody say, this back in, I think, the 90s, I'm about to lose my mind up in here. Up in here. Don't lose it. Keep it together. Revelation, and that's my last point. Why do we need to keep the patience? What's so important about us keeping it together? Revelations 3:10. Because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell among or dwell upon the earth. So if I'm patient now, he'll keep me from the hour of trial. That's a motivation.
Yeah, right.
Because if you think you're going through it now,
Right.
you ain't seen nothing yet. And if you almost lost it now, ain't no hope for you in the time that's going to trial the whole world. The best thing to do is keep it together so he'll keep you from that trial. One more verse. Look at Revelation. Look at Revelation 14, verse 12. Somebody said, well, how do I do it? And Zion, thank you for being patient. We've had a good time today in Oregon. Glad to be with you, man. Glad to see you Hebrews face to face.
Amen. Amen.
Revelation 14:12. Just in case you want to know. Here is the patience of the saints. Want to see it? You want me to reveal this mystery?
Right. Yeah. Go ahead.
Here are they that kept the commandments of Yah.
Oh, hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Give us strength.
That's what patience is from Yah's point of view. You didn't fall out. You didn't fall apart. What you did was you kept the commandments. They talked about you for not wanting to participate in pagan festivals and foods and feasts, but you kept the commandments. They talked about you because you didn't want to go to those spiritual whorehouses, but you kept the commandments. Some of y'all lost your job. Some of you all ended up in prison. Some of you guys ended up getting beat up. Some of you all are ostracized right now from family and friends. Some of you all unfortunately have to live in war-torn areas, but here is your testimony. It didn't matter. I kept the commandments. What else? Of Yah and the
And the faith.
I watched his life, and that's the life I live. That's the patience of the saints. What he did, what he said, how he lived, is how I mastered my life and made myself live after his life. And how did he live? Unto Yah. He endured the cross, despising the shame, and Yah exalted him. And if Yah raised him up, then in that last day he'll raise us up. So Zion, one more time, keep it together.
Hallelujah.
Shalom.
Shalom.
Oh, man.
I've been trying to puzzle this one out, man, for the longest. And that is in between like the time of Jacob's trouble that's supposed to go